So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you the greatest Secretary-Treasurer around, Becky Pringle.
So good afternoon. So you're all leading the professions, are you? Yeah, I like the way that sounds. I am so excited that we were able to put together this opportunity to learn and grow together and to leave this representative assembly with new, bold ideas that we can take back to our locals and states so that in fact you can lead the profession in your union role. We have much to accomplish in 2012 and beyond, but I know that with the NEA members that are sitting in front of me and those all across this country, that when they make up their mind, they're going to get something done, you get it done. Of all the civil rights for which this world has fought and died for 5,000 years, the right to learn is the most fundamental. The freedom to learn has been bought by bitter sacrifice. So whatever you might think about the curtailment of other civil rights, you must fight to the last ditch to keep open the right to learn. Those powerful words by W.E.B. Du Bois capture the magnitude of the responsibility we took on when we made the choice to become educators. I'm so excited about the work that the NEA family is doing, and one of the things you got an opportunity to see this morning was that it is the family. We invited representatives from the state affiliates, and we heard from folks in local affiliates who are leading the way already on the issues that we know impact our students and our schools. And you probably learned a lot about what's already going on out there, and you just had a small panel. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and I know it's already been talked about, is the opportunity that we're going to create for you and for ourselves to learn more about what incredible things our members and leaders are doing and what we as the NEA, the state affiliates and the local affiliates can do to support that work. So look at our vision. It's a reach vision, if you will. You know, when you say when you say all, that's a reach goal. But it had to be such, because what child would we not want to have success? And so when we think about the children who come in our classrooms each and every year, we do want to ultimately see a day when every one of them has access to a great public school. It is both a challenge and an opportunity, and you know that we have a lot of additional work to do to actually realize that vision. But I know that if we stay true to and think about how we really can live into our mission, to advocate for education professionals and to unite not just our members, but the entire country to fulfill the promise of public education so that every student can succeed in an interdependent and global society. So that is our challenge. What are we striving for? Well, we're looking to ensure student success. That can only be done if we are surrounding our students with support, all of us. You know, we've seen a lot of surveys that say that teachers are the number one in school factor for impacting and raising student achievement. And we feel really good about that. But I can tell you as a teacher, I know that the successes that I had, I did not achieve alone. I had education support professionals from the secretary to the para who worked right beside me. I had involved and concerned parents. If I was lucky, I had some educated policymakers. That didn't happen too often. But anyway, in a perfect world, we have policymakers too who get it. And then finally, it's you. It's us. It's the union. We have to ensure the success of our students. We are positioned to work in a unique way, a way that we really haven't in the past. I'm really excited about this. The NEA had a conversation with our state affiliates, and that conversation centered around what we could do together, how we could leverage our collective resources, our money, our staff, our time, in a way we never really had before. You know, as your Secretary-Treasurer, let me tell you, nothing gave me a greater rush than to say 3.2 million. I can't say that anymore, but nonetheless, 3 million still really big. But I get a rush when I say that. I mean, that's phenomenal. 1 in every 100 people in the United States is an NEA member. That's pretty phenomenal. But I have to say that we've never really leveraged that power. We never have. And part of the reason we haven't is because we have not worked in a unified, aligned way, local, state, national, like we have to do, and especially with this work. One of the things that we had to realize, we're not impacting student achievement from 1201 16th Street. For those of you who got to tour the building, that's where the NEA building is. We're not. Our teachers and our ESP in our work sites, in our classrooms, they are the ones who are impacting the success of our students. NEA National has an important role to play, but we've got to figure out a way how we're lining our state, locals, and the national organization to take charge of our professions, all of them, our teaching professions, administrators, and our ESP professions. We've got to take control of the preparation of our professionals, their training, and ultimately their evaluation. We've got to position ourselves to have a real say. And it's equally important that we provide the support that our educators need to get the job done. Sure, we have teachers who are in the classroom who shouldn't be there. We have ESP who don't love children. Of course we do. Every profession has folks in that profession who are not performing at the level that we need them to perform. But that is not the vast majority. To build a system based on that is automatically flawed, because guess what? It has nothing to do with the students. And that's not the kind of system that we want or can support. We know as professionals, however, we have to stand ready. If one of our colleagues is not achieving, is not performing at the standard that we know our students must have, then we need to be ready to help them choose another profession. But we need to move away from talking about that as though it's the majority of our educators. So as we did the work, as Bill mentioned, and I know Dennis mentioned earlier, the work of the Joint Committee on Leading the Professions, we thought a lot about how we could think about our work in buckets. And we ultimately came up with these 5 buckets. So we talked a lot about the quality of the professional, that every adult in the education system needed to be prepared, they needed to be trained, and they needed to be surrounded with support for ongoing training and development. We talked about the quality of the profession itself. You know, I've heard many of you talk a lot about how teachers are, in particular, because they've been on the front lines of blame, have been disrespected and not viewed as real professionals. We've got to change that. We've got to elevate the profession in ways that not only can we talk about it, but we can show evidence that we are taking responsibility for improving our profession, and we're taking responsibility for those professionals we produce. And then we have to talk about the qualities of the schools themselves. You know, the learning environment of our students absolutely impact their success. And so we have to create these learning environments that are conducive to good teaching and learning, but also we know as part of that, we've got to surround our kids with support so they can be successful. And those supports will look very different in different schools and for different kids because our kids need different things. We know that if we don't provide them the health services or counseling services, they're not going to be successful. We know if we have class sizes of 40, they're not going to be successful. We know if they don't have the materials and technology in their class, they are not going to achieve what we know they can. And so we have to look at the quality of the schools. Part of that work has to be outreach to our communities, particularly in our priority schools, to our ethnic minority communities. We cannot do this work alone. And quite honestly, we don't want to do it alone. We want the adults in the system and in the community to surround our kids with support. And then, of course, we have to have good education policy. High quality education policy. That's going to be a challenge. It already is a challenge. When we build education system, evaluation systems based on getting rid of bad teachers, we already have policy in place that is not student-centered. So we have to fight at every level of this, of every level, from local to state to national policy, to ensure that we have the kind of policy that is going to develop the skills and knowledge of our professionals and develop unique strategies to reach each and every student. And then finally, we have a responsibility to transform our own union so that we can raise the quality of our union to lead on these issues. That's necessarily going to mean that we're going to have to build the capacity of our locals to do this work. I understand a question came up about that this morning. You know, how in the world are we going to do all this work? You know, we have so much on our plate. Well, part of that, and the answer to that question, is building the capacity of our locals so that one person doesn't feel like they're doing all that work, so that we have engaged our members in ways we haven't before, so that they are engaged and working and contributing to the overall work of the union. So our principal plan for success, you've heard me say this several times, we have to have all of the work that we design around this be student-centered. It's one of the clear directives that came out of the Commission on Effective Teachers and Teaching, that whether we're talking about a compensation system or an evaluation system, whether we're talking about curriculum or whether we're talking about the professionals in the building and how they're going to collaborate with each other, everything has to be student-centered. And not only that, we've got to demonstrate through our actions that we are serious when we say that every child matters and every student has to have what they need to be successful. That's necessarily, I don't need to tell you, it has to be addressing the resources that we need for our schools and for our students. And then lastly, you know, we just have not done the job we needed to do around telling our stories. We haven't. I mean, you heard some amazing stories up here today. You're going to hear some more on the second day of the RA2. But it's just a snapshot. And we're talking to each other. We're not talking to other folks. We've got to figure that out so that we can position our members to tell their powerful stories and others can see that we're leading the way. With all of the work that we're doing, everything we've done from creating the 2012-14 budget to this work around leading the professions has been steeped in our core values of a just society and equal opportunity and professionalism and partnership and democracy and collective action. And I believe that as you see this work, particularly as I talk a little bit about what we're doing in our budget, you'll see that that's true. So this is what we're doing in, this is a goal. This is the second strategic goal from our strategic plan and budget that is proposed. It will be proposed to the Representative Assembly. I know you've read your budget cover to cover, so I didn't really need to say that to you. But I'm just highlighting it for you just in case you forgot or don't carry it around with you like me. But goal 2 specifically talks about uniting the nation for great public schools with an emphasis on priority schools. Our priority schools work is growing this year in this next 2-year budget because we have to find a way to go beyond the schools where we're doing a deep dive so that we can spread what's going on around union-led transformation in these schools, communicating those successes and focusing like a laser on filling the void, quite honestly, that exists in this country around equity. You know, we like to talk a lot about achievement gaps. We need to start talking about access gaps and opportunity gaps. Those are the gaps we need to fill. And the achievement gaps, yeah, they'll take care of themselves. We need to talk about student success. You know, we have to ensure that any assessments we develop, I don't care what kind they are, they've got to be student-centered and they've got to be designed in a way that they measure what they're intended to measure. And they've got to be used in a manner that is appropriate. Something I'm sure you guys don't know anything about. Inappropriate use of student data. That doesn't happen to you, does it? Yeah, okay. And then professionals. We have to ensure that teachers are prepared on day 1 to enter the classroom. And so as part of the work that I know Dennis talked to you about, you know, we are really promoting residency programs and mentoring programs and rethinking, you know, clinical practice, all of those things so that we have better prepared educators when they enter the classroom. Professional practice is another area that we will be focusing on, creating the next generation so that we have improved high quality evaluation systems that include an opportunity for career paths. And then union leadership, a new generation of leaders. And that's going to take revamping, quite honestly, our leadership training. And we're going to be doing that this year. That's included in the strategic plan and budget. And then lastly, as I said before, working on communications. In core 1 of our strategic plan, that's where most of this work is housed. We're going to continue our work around research, policy, and practice. And part of that is our outreach to the U.S. Department of Education. Let me tell you something. For those of you who were not here, laughing, for those of you who were not here last, the Representative Assembly, this body recommended the reelection of President Barack Obama. And I cannot tell you how far that went in terms of our access and opportunity to influence the policies. Now, I know you're sitting there saying, really? You didn't see it before? And we've had that open access and opportunity to influence, and we will continue to do that. We will continue to work with the department in creating good opportunities like the Union Management Labor Conference that continues to do better so that they understand clearly that the union has a role and a seat at the table and the decisions are not being made for them, away from them, and then imposed on them. And so we are working and pushing the department to help us with that work. We are doing a huge body of work around ESP professionalism. We just finished a survey on elevating the professions within our ESP, and so we're doing value research, and we're doing policy research, and we're doing policy briefs, all designed to elevate the ESP professions. And this is our theory on this, and Dennis may have shared this, but one of the concerns with our ESP is the privatization of their jobs. You know, if we can demonstrate the important role that bus drivers play as they drive our students to school, and how they set the tone for them to be open to learning before they ever enter that building, we have a better message around why we cannot privatize those jobs. But we have to fill that void. We have to step up and we have to say that. And then lastly, we are looking to develop what we call content partnerships. Just a few examples. One of them, those partnerships is with the Teaching Channel, where we are looking to expand our work around online professional development. Another is one called Leaning Forward, which is a very focused partnership on quality, high quality professional development. And then the last one I'll mention is the Center for Teacher Quality, which is helping with the leadership of implementing the Common Core. Now, I know that Dennis mentioned this morning, but I need to mention it again, and I am so happy to hear that many of you signed up for this already online. All right. Okay, raise your hands who didn't. Raise your hands who did not. Oh, okay. I don't have my glasses on, but please go to NEA.org/now. We need you to sign up. We are looking to put together this network of the willing. We were calling it the Community of the Willing, but the acronym CAL. The things we were getting from our joint committee were utterly ridiculous. There was a lot of bull being slung around, and it just wasn't working. So Dennis had enough of us, and he changed it to now, the Network of the Willing. And actually, that works because it's about building this network. We're not waiting for permission to do this work. You didn't wait. You stepped forward. You didn't care what the NEA was doing. You said, you know what? I have to deal with this right now. And you step forward and bravely fill that void at your local and state levels. And what we want to do is begin to connect you together so we can all learn from each other. We can promote your work. We can celebrate your work. We can highlight your work. We can showcase it. We can encourage partners, external partners, to join with us in the work. Those who understand the important role that the union plays and they want to join with us. And finally, we want to use those Lighthouse Now examples to expand our work around leading the professions. I had an opportunity to talk with one of our ESP local leaders earlier today, and I had talked with a group, and I had told them that we were looking for, in particular, ethnic minority leaders who were accomplished teachers and accomplished ESP to step forward as we begin this new work. We need them to be leaders in this. And she found me after, and she said, Becky, I'm an ESP leader. Can I sign up? I said, absolutely. We need you to be leading the way for our ESP professions as well. And so we're very excited about for those of you who have already signed up, and we want you to continue to do that. We've got to do what's right. We know what it is. We already do. The question is, do we have the will? The question is, do we have the courage? The question is, do we have the tenacity to get this job done? As I look out at you, I have no doubt, none whatsoever, that you will stand strong for your students and for our members, and quite honestly, for this country, so that we will live into our mission of the promise of public education, not for one, but for every single student. Thank you so very much for all you do